The day I opened the DNA results, I didn't just lose my husband, I lost my son. I remember the sound of the envelope tearing, soft at first, then frantic, like ripping through a piece of my own skin. My husband, Daniel, had left it on the dining table that morning. Brown, official, stamped with the logo of a private DNA testing lab. The kind of envelope you never expect to see in your own house. He didn't say a word when he left for work, just a muttered, "I'll be back late," before walking out. But I knew what it was the moment I saw it. For weeks, he'd been distant, eyes hard, mouth tight, like he was biting back words that could burn everything. I'd ask, "What's wrong?" He'd say, "Nothing." I'd say, "You're quiet." He'd say, "You've been busy with Emeka." Emeka, our 15-year-old son, sweet, brilliant, introverted. The kind of boy who fixes your phone without being asked, who calls you mom like it's sacred. If Daniel had doubts about him, he never said so out loud. But I noticed the small things. How he stopped ruffling Emeka's hair, how he avoided his gaze at dinner, how he began sitting on the far end of the couch during family movie night. That morning, I didn't plan to open the envelope. I only meant to move it out of the way. But when I picked it up, I saw my name printed beside Daniel's and Emeka's, and something inside me froze. I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper, white, heavy, official. Paternity results: 0.00% probability. Tested father is not the biological father of the child. My throat closed. The words didn't make sense. I read them again, slower, as if maybe I had misread the decimals. 0.00, not a chance, not even a sliver of maybe. I dropped the paper and grabbed my phone, calling Daniel over and over. He didn't pick up. The living room felt suddenly too bright, the clock ticking too loud. My knees gave way, and I sat on the floor clutching that corset sheet. I knew what it looked like: a wife caught, a mother exposed. But that wasn't me. I had never ever cheated. When Daniel came home that night, his face looked carved out of stone. "So," he said, "you saw it." "Daniel, it's not possible." "Not possible." His voice was flat. "It's science, Ida. It's a DNA test, not a rumor." He didn't shout. That made it worse. "Daniel," I whispered, "I swear on everything I have, on Emeka's life, I have never been unfaithful to you." "Then explain it," he said, "because that paper says I'm not his father." I reached for him. He stepped back. For the first time since our wedding, he wouldn't let me touch him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat beside Emeka's door and listened to his soft breathing. He had exams in 2 days. He didn't deserve any of this. I remember the day he was born, the chaos, the screaming nurses, the blackout that happened halfway through my labor. The hospital generator took nearly 10 minutes to come back on. I'd barely seen his face before they took him away to clean him up. When they brought him back, I was too weak to notice anything beyond the fact that he was alive. The thought hit me like lightning. Could something have gone wrong there? I didn't dare say it out loud. It sounded crazy. But the next morning, I went to that same hospital. It had changed over the years. New tiles, new name, new staff. The receptionist was a young woman who looked barely old enough to have finished school. I told her I wanted to see the old delivery records for March 2010. She frowned. "Ma, that's 15 years ago." "I know," I said. "Please, my name is Adora Nwokedi. I gave birth here on March 14th. She clicked through her computer, then frowned deeper. "Ma, our system only has records from 2012 onward." I swallowed hard. "Then can you call someone who worked here before that?" She hesitated. "Wait, I think Nurse Grace still comes in sometimes." It took an hour, but finally, a woman in her 50s appeared from the corridor. When she saw me, her eyes widened slightly. as if she recognized me, or maybe just my desperation. I remember you, she said. Long labor. There was a power cut that day. Yes, I said quickly. Nurse Grace, I need to ask you something. Is there any chance, any possibility that babies could have been mixed up that night? Her expression changed. A flicker. Small, but I saw it. Why are you asking me that? She said slowly. I told her about the DNA test, about Daniel, about Emeka. When I finished, her hands were trembling. She lowered her voice. There was confusion that night, she whispered. Two women delivered almost at the same time. The lights went off and the backup generator failed. We used torches. One baby boy had a tag that came off during cleaning. We thought we corrected it later, but her eyes filled with guilt. Are you saying one of those women could have been me? She didn't answer. She only said, the other woman's name was Ngozi Opara. She lived in Enugu then. I left the hospital with my heart in shards. 15 years of memories. This unbearable question. If Emeka isn't Daniel's son, and not mine either, then whose child is he? That night, I hid the truth from both of them. I made dinner. I smiled through tears. I listened to Emeka tell me about his school debate and how he thought he'd win the prize. I looked at him, his eyes, his smile, the curve of his nose, and I realized something that made my stomach twist. He didn't look like either of us. Maybe I had noticed before, but love blinded me. I saw only what I wanted to see. That night, when everyone was asleep, I found Ngozi Opara on Facebook. There were dozens of them, but one profile caught my eye. A woman about my age, with a teenage son who looked strikingly like Daniel. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. Then I sent her a message. Hello, my name is Adoran Okedi. I believe we need to talk. It's about our sons. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there watching the scene mark appear beneath my message to Ngozi. She replied at 5:47 a.m. Who are you? And what do you mean our sons? My fingers trembled as I typed, greater than please. I need to meet you in person. It's about something that happened 15 years ago at St. Luke's Hospital, Enugu. A few seconds later, I gave birth there. March 14th, 2010. My heart skipped. So did I wrote. There was a long pause before she finally sent her address. I left home without telling Daniel. He barely looked up when I said I was going to the market. I think by then he didn't care where I went, or maybe he cared too much to ask. The drive to Enugu was long, the road winding through memories I didn't want to revisit. Every signpost felt like an accusation. When I reached Ngozi's compound, my palms were slick with sweat. Her house was modest, clean, laundry drying in the sun, a dog barking from behind the gate. She opened the door herself, tall, slim. Her face carried the kind of tired grace you only get from surviving too much. And standing behind her was a boy, my breath caught, a boy who looked exactly like Daniel. The jawline, the eyes, even the small scar above his right brow. From a childhood fall Daniel once told me about having two. He was my husband's son, and she had been raising him. We sat in her living room, the silence between us stretching thin. I thought your message was some scam, Ngozi said finally. But the moment I saw you, I felt something. You look familiar. So do you, I said softly. We both laughed. The kind of laugh that doesn't reach the heart. Then I told her everything. The DNA test, the nurse, the blackout. Her face went pale as I spoke. My God, she whispered. I remember that night. The chaos. They told me my baby was fine. I didn't question anything. She stood up and called into the house. Chima! The boy came out, tall, polite, uncertain. Yes, Mom. Come here, she said. This woman, She thinks you might have been switched at birth. His eyes widened. Switched? What do you mean? I couldn't speak. I was shaking too much. Ngozi tried to steady her voice. We need to find out the truth. 2 weeks later, the hospital confirmed what we already feared. The DNA results came back, showing that Chima was biologically mine and Emeka was hers. I stared at the papers in the lab office, my mind refusing to accept it. 2 sets of results, 2 children, 2 mothers, all tangled by a single night 15 years ago. I felt dizzy, the room blurred. Ngozi began to sob quietly beside me. I wanted to comfort her, but my hands wouldn't move. The doctor said something about legal processes and options, but I couldn't hear him. All I could think about was Emeka's laughter, his voice calling me mom. How do you undo 15 years of love? When I told Daniel, he didn't react at first. He just sat there, staring at the wall. So, he said finally, Emeka isn't yours, and the other boy is ours. Daniel. He looked at me, eyes red rimmed. Ada, do you understand what this means? We've been living with someone else's child, and our real son. He broke off, voice cracking. Daniel, please. He stood abruptly. I need time. That was the last night he slept in our room. Days turned into weeks. The story spread through whispers. My husband's family, my mother, everyone had an opinion. Some said we should exchange the boys. Others said to leave things as they were. I couldn't eat, couldn't think. One afternoon, Emeka walked into the kitchen and said quietly, Mom, what's wrong with Dad? I froze. Why do you ask? He looks at me funny, like he doesn't like me anymore. My heart shattered. I knelt and took his face in my hands. You did nothing wrong, my son. Do you hear me? Nothing, he frowned. Then why are you crying? I lied. I'm just tired.
A few days later, Ngozi called. Daniel came to see us, she said quietly. What? He said he wanted to meet his real son. The words sliced me open. And Chima? I asked. He was confused, but Daniel was gentle with him. He brought him a football, talked about school. They looked alike. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to breathe. Then Ngozi added, Ada, I can't lie. Seeing you that day and knowing the truth, I've been restless. I love Chima, but I keep thinking about Emeka too, about what my life would have been if I'd raised him. Her voice broke. Do you ever feel that way? I closed my eyes. Every second. The first meeting between the two families happened at a neutral spot, a quiet restaurant by the highway. Daniel insisted on it being formal. He said it was for clarity, but I knew it was to keep his emotions from showing. Emeka sat beside me, nervous, fiddling with his spoon. Across from us sat Ngozi and Chima. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Ngozi said, we should decide what is best for the boys. Daniel nodded. They deserve to know the truth. Emeka looked up. Know what truth? My throat went dry. Daniel inhaled. Son, there's something we need to tell you. Something that happened when you were born. He explained, flat, factual, emotionless. The hospital mistake, the switch. Emeka's expression went from confusion to disbelief, then to something I will never forget, betrayal. So you're saying I'm not your son? Daniel said quietly. Emeka turned to me, his eyes searching for my face. And you knew? Tears filled my eyes. I just found out, baby, but you are my son. You always will be. He stood up so suddenly that his chair creaked. No, I'm not. You are not my real parents. He ran out before I could stop him. Across the table, Chima was crying too, clutching Ngozi's hand. I realized then that we had not just lost children, we had broken them. Later that night, I found Emeka sitting outside in the rain, his school bag on his lap. Where are you going? I asked. He didn't look up. To find my real mom. I knelt beside him, drenched, shaking. Emeka, please don't say that. I may not have given birth to you, but I have loved you every day of your life. You came home with me. You are part of me. He turned his face away. Then why does it hurt this much? I didn't have an answer. I just held him, both of us sobbing under the rain. A mother and a son, bound by everything except blood. After that night in the rain, nothing was the same again. Daniel moved out a week later. He said it was temporary, but I knew what that word meant. Space, distance, escape. He rented a small apartment downtown, and every weekend he visited Ngozi and his biological son, Chima. He said he needed to get to know him. I didn't argue. What could I say? Every time I saw photos of them together, Daniel and Chima smiling over a game of chess, identical dimples flashing, my heart broke a little more. Meanwhile, Emeka grew quieter. He stopped eating dinner with me, stopped saying good night. Some nights, I would stand at his door, hand raised to knock, and then walk away. I was losing him, not because of blood, but because of doubt. One evening, I got a call from Ngozi. Her voice was strained. Ada, we need to talk. It's about the boys. I drove to Enugu the next morning. Chima opened the door this time. His face pale, eyes swollen from crying. He's been acting strange since he met your husband, she said, wringing her hands. Distant, he keeps asking me, why did they take me away from my real parents? He doesn't talk to me anymore, Ada. He looks at me like a stranger. I swallowed hard because I knew that pain. I think this whole thing, it's killing them, she whispered. We wanted the truth, but it's destroying everyone. Her words sank deep into my bones. We sat in silence, two mothers bound by grief neither of us chose. Then she said quietly, I've been thinking, maybe we shouldn't force this. Maybe love should decide, not biology.
That night, I drove home and found Emeka in the living room, his suitcase packed again. Where are you going this time? I asked softly. He didn't meet my eyes. Dad said I could come stay with him for a while. I nodded slowly. Does he live alone? No. He said I would meet Chima. It hit me then. Daniel was trying to rebuild what he'd lost with the other boy. I beat back tears and forced a smile. Okay, sweetheart, if that's what you want. He hesitated. I don't know what I want anymore. I stepped closer. Then promise me one thing. Whatever happens, don't forget that I love you. He looked at me, eyes wet. Even if I'm not your son? I cupped his face. You are my heart, Emeka. Blood doesn't change that. For the first time in weeks, he hugged me. And in that moment I knew no piece of paper could ever rewrite 15 years of love. A few weeks later, the families gathered again, this time at the hospital where it all began. The hospital's new director had called a joint meeting after both of us filed separate complaints. There were lawyers, journalists, and a handful of government officials. They wanted statements, apologies, compensation. But all I wanted was closure. The director read from a prepared document, voice trembling. It has been confirmed that due to human error during a power failure, 2 male infants were mislabeled and placed with the wrong mothers. We deeply regret. I stopped listening. I just looked across the table at Ngozi, holding Chima's hand, eyes glistening. And beside me, Daniel, stiff and cold, his hand on Emeka's shoulder. We were a picture of tragedy, two families shattered by a single mistake.
When the director finished, he asked if we wanted to make a statement. Daniel spoke first. I don't care about the hospital's apology. What I want is clarity. My biological son belongs with me. His words echoed like a gunshot. Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. But you can't just take him. He's my son too. Daniel tightened his jaw. Not by blood. And Emeka, I asked, my voice shaking, will you give him up too? He looked away. That silence said everything. I felt something break inside me. Years of loyalty, of building a family together, reduced to this, a war of DNA. Daniel, I whispered, if you think fatherhood is about blood, then maybe you were never really a father at all. He didn't answer. He just left. Ngozi reached across the cable, taking my hand. Ada, let's not let them destroy us. The men can chase their truths. We'll protect our children. I nodded, tears falling freely. In that moment, I realized something simple, painful, and freeing. The world might measure family in genes, but mothers measure it in scars, sleepless nights, and prayers whispered over fevers. Months passed. Daniel and I filed for separation. He started seeing Chima more regularly, and I stayed focused on Emeka. But something had shifted between all of us. Ngozi and I began to talk often, not as strangers, but as sisters in grief. We shared updates about the boys, met sometimes at a Nutrient park in Nsukka, where they could both play, talk, and maybe heal. At first, it was awkward. The boys barely spoke. But slowly, they started laughing together. They played basketball, shared stories about school, even teased each other about who looked more like Daniel. One afternoon, as they played, Ngozi turned to me. Maybe this is what God wanted, she said, for them to find each other, and for us to learn that motherhood isn't about possession. I smiled faintly. Maybe. Then I watched as Emeka passed the ball to Chima, and both boys laughed, that deep, careless laughter of youth that doesn't yet know how cruel life can be. For a brief moment, I felt peace, but peace never lasts long. One night, Emeka fell ill, a sudden severe fever. I rushed him to the hospital. The doctor said he needed a blood transfusion. I volunteered immediately, but when they ran the tests, he shook his head. Your blood type doesn't match. I froze. I'd known it all along, but hearing it again, you are not his mother, tore through me like glass. They called Ngozi. She arrived within an hour, and her blood was a perfect match. I stood there, watching as she donated blood for the boy I had raised, the boy she had birthed, and I realized maybe this was life's cruel balance. She gave him life twice, and I gave him love in between. When it was over, she looked at me through tears. We both saved him, Ada, in different ways. Emeka recovered. After that, something shifted between the boys. They began to call each other brother. Daniel tried to rebuild bridges too, but the boys, both of them, kept their distance. They loved him, yes, but they also saw what his obsession with DNA had done. One Sunday, as we sat in church, Emeka leaned toward me and whispered, "Mom, I don't want to move in with Dad anymore. I want to stay with you." I smiled through tears. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "You are the one who taught me what love looks like." That moment healed something in me that science had broken. A year later, Ngozi and I stood side by side at the boys' graduation ceremony. They were taller now, stronger, both wearing the same broad smell that once divided our lives and now bound them together. As they hugged us both afterward, I realized there was no neat ending to this story. No complete healing, just acceptance, and a quiet understanding that love doesn't need to make sense to be real. Now, when people ask me if I've forgiven the hospital, I tell them this. Forgiveness came the day I stopped asking which boy was mine and started thanking God for the two hearts that became my sons. Because in the end, the DNA didn't just destroy two families, it built one that was stronger and painfully, beautifully human. Tell me, if you were in Ada's shoes, would you fight to get your biological child back or hold on to the one love raised as yours? I really want to know what your heart says. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Also, please subscribe and turn on post notification to get notified when we post the next reading story. And remember, you are loved. See you in the next story. Bye for now.